What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Critical Overlord here. This will be a spoiler-free review for Sinners, which is written and directed by Ryan Coogler. It is starring Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Miles Canton, Jack O'Connell, Omar Benson Miller, and several others. Now, this film revolves around these twin brothers trying to leave their troubled lives behind. Twin brothers Stacks and Smokes return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. Now, if you follow me on Twitter and you saw my tweet before clicking the link to this video, then you know what my sentiments are about this masterpiece. Sinners is destined to be one of those films where if you are a die-hard lover of cinema and someone tells you they haven't seen it, you are going to insist they watch it ASAP. And who do we contact to make sure Ryan Coogler is directing every film going forward? Obviously, that's a joke, but just a testament to how well directed this film is. Ryan Coogler, if you ever hear this, thank you for delivering one of the greatest cinematic experiences I've ever had. Sinners is nothing less than epic. Everything about it just immediately demands your attention, and even with the narrative taking its time to get to the bloodshed that everyone came for, Coogler directs it with such an infectious energy that every scene reels you in further. Until further notice, this movie is the horror event of the year. From the blues music, the racial tensions, the other relevant cultural commentary, vampires with a twist, gripping performances, and a never-ending feeling of intensity. Yeah, Sinners is a problem in the best way imaginable, and I cannot wait for you all to experience this. People are saying this film is firing on all cylinders, and even I'd say that's an understatement. Now, this film is set in 1932. Twin brothers Elijah and Elias, better known as Stacks and Smokes, return home to Mississippi after spending years in Chicago, making fast money working for Al Capone. They reunite with their cousin Sammy, son of a local preacher in town. Sammy is very gifted as a musician, but he's been warned to stop sharing his talents with the wrong crowd, a lesson he'll have to learn the hard way, right along with his cousins who plan to open a juke joint for the night after purchasing a location from a very questionable individual. Coogler spends a hefty amount of time establishing the town, allowing characters to resonate with you. Not that a lot of development occurs for everyone, but there's an aura to each individual, making them likable or intriguing in some capacity. Filling out the dynamics between the cousins and who the twins hurt in their pursuit of a better life adds a much-needed sting when certain individuals are off later on in the story. And I always want to tip my hat to quality dialogue because every exchange between the community feels authentic. So while there's an argument to be had about half the characters being thin, I can see your point there if you want to argue that, I would say it's elevated and excused by the talent bringing them to life and the time spent navigating this uplifting community. My only gripe with Sinners, well, there's another one I'll get to, but the biggest gripe is Coogler's tackling of cultural appropriation is made loud and clear, while other themes seem to kind of just stay above the surface. We don't dig into it. On the topic of cultural appropriation, though, I would say it's done in a tasteful way that's relevant to the era that the story is set in. Coogler never comes off preachy, but the moments where I'm reminded of something that just happened 20 minutes ago definitely could have been cut out. Another thing here, in terms of what I was going to say, was another setback for the story. The subtlety is there in some regards, and in other regards, it's not. And because of that lack of subtlety in other regards, when characters are stating the obvious, it's like, okay, we already knew that. You don't have to tell me, it's right there in front of me. But whatever. They don't do it over and over again to the point where you feel like you're an idiot. They don't treat the audience like a fool. The lore that most are familiar with in terms of the vampires, it's respected while adding some cultural commentary into the mix of it, some new spins on it, if you will. Our lead vampire, Remick, considers himself to be noble, and when listening to his pitch, I understand his motivations, even if I'm not in agreement. But Coogler definitely establishes a compelling villain motivated by exploitation more than anything, despite his noble outlook on what he sets out to do. Remick is one example of the thin characters working to the story's advantage. Sharing too much about your antagonist doesn't always go well, and Sinners understands that. Remick is as mysterious as our pair of twin brothers. Our lack of knowledge keeps him intriguing and intimidating from start to finish. He never loses his mystique, but our interest in learning more always grows due to the fact that the character is constantly being built up in a way that just makes you inquisitive at all times, anytime he is present on your screen. Now, Coogler directed this film like a true master of his craft. That notion of firing on all cylinders reigns true for the talent on screen. Jordan excels at portraying two distinct personalities, while we are introduced to a very promising newcomer in Miles Canton, who I'm praying has a successful career going forward. Canton stars as Jordan's on-screen cousin named Sammy, and his talent in this role is just undeniable. Haley Steinfeld starred as one of Jordan's old flings named Mary, who sticks out like a sore thumb for obvious reasons. Steinfeld has always been a gifted performer in my eyes, but I'd argue some of her best line delivery in her career and her best performance to date can be found in Sinners. The chemistry between her and Jordan is nothing less than incredible. I'm sure if you've been following the press run, their real-life chemistry makes their on-screen exchanges even more satisfying and highlights what two tremendous talents they had, or what two tremendous talents they are, as they bring these characters to life. Now, Sinners' cinematography is going to be nominated next award season. That is my bold prediction for this film. If nothing else, the cinematography deserves to be acknowledged. In an era where movies and TV shows tend to look lifeless and all look the same with that lifeless look, this is one of the most aesthetically pleasing films I've seen in a good while. Pair that against superb camera work, including a tracking shot audiences will want to revisit, and you have a contender for best cinematography. This film is just, it's a beautiful thing to look at. It's masterful what Coogler has done, and I hope, wish, and pray that he tackles the horror genre once again, because the way he built into the horror, you can tell he's influenced by Jaws. The Jaws influence was undeniable to me. And the way he tackled it and the way it was all executed on screen, just near perfect almost. Now the pacing, you could argue, yes, some scenes go on for a bit too long, but I would say that when it comes to the pacing, it was fine for the most part. I do wish that the third act got a little bit more time to breathe. The intensity was there and I was immersed in everything, but it kind of felt like it wrapped up really quick. I do appreciate the fact that when it comes to certain deaths, we do spend time to let those marinate and let them strike a chord with you as a viewer. And it's fitting considering the time spent with certain characters who were off later on because of how they were presented to us earlier in the story. So they respect the characters well enough to let the deaths kind of hit you, and it's like a sting or a stake to your heart, no pun intended. But the score is another beast in this film. The score just adds another level of intensity to it. It's always heightening everything on screen, whether that be the romantic stuff being heightened, whether that be the scares, the bloodshed being heightened, or just something a bit more calmer and tranquil, like what goes down in that third act, which I'm sure is going to be very satisfying to many individuals who love Red Dead Redemption, or who just are very much so aware of the cultural commentary the film is going for. But yeah, Sinners, I'm going to have to give this film a 8.5 out of 10. This is the horror event of the year. Like I stated, until further notice, everybody has been put on notice. You need to start putting out better films, because if you're not delivering stuff like this is what audiences are craving. And if you're not giving it to us, they don't want it. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications, and in this video in the description, I'll have links on my social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can message me there, of course. Let me know if there are any movies, news, or reviews you'd like me to cover in the future. And with all that in mind, guys, I will see you in the next video.